So great to see everybody. Some familiar faces and some new faces. Let me make sure I can get my slides working here. Well, today, welcome to the Live Better Electrically program. Um, this is one of I would say that one of the most effective mass marketing sort of campaigns of all time. The program in the post-World War II period, in fact, the program began in the mid-1950s when General Electric and Westinghouse decided to co-sponsor this multi-million dollar national campaign to tout the benefits of electrical power. Um, and of course, not only to tout the electrical benefits of power, but to sell more products, right? To sell more electrical devices, which were the gamut. General Electric, they provided the initial support for the program, which was launched in 1956, and Westinghouse followed with a pledge of $2.5 million for a marketing campaign in 1958. That's equivalent to $27 million today. So this is a lot of money that's being thrown by the program. And I wanted to start out by playing you this little jingle I thought you'd get a kick out of.
It's as easy as can be to live better electrically. You can have more time for fun and pleasure. Family moments you will treasure. It's an opportunity to live better electrically. Modern folks have learned to save their time and energy too. You don't have to work and slave. Let electricity do it for you. You can have your cake and you can eat it. Make life sweet, it's hard to beat it. What a thrill to be so free when you live better electrically.
Sorry for the technical hiccup, but I hope you all heard that catchy little tune, and I'm sure you'll be singing it the rest of the afternoon. Maddie, did you hear it just fine? Yeah, good. Kim, you heard it?
Yes, I'm just over here chuckling. It's so adorable.
Excellent, excellent. Well, at the time, that this jingle came out, I guess electric companies were sort of rushing to meet this increased demand for electricity, in post-war America, right? So for GE and Westinghouse, another motivational factor was that they were creating this new market for electrical heat, which is kind of a big deal. Keep in mind that many homes of this era were still using coal and oil as their main source for their furnaces in their home. For GE and Westinghouse, not only did they sell individual electrical heating units, but they also supplied all the electrical generating equipment for hundreds of utility companies nationwide. So this is kind of a big sort of thing for them on multiple levels. And if we think about it, it's this really kind of a monopoly of sorts at the time, and it worked. In fact, for instance, the heating market in Seattle alone, with the Puget Power, noted that in 1952 they had less than 200 customers who were using electric heat. This is in 1952, 200 customers. However, by 1967, that number had grown to over 50,000 customers. So it happened pretty rapidly. The program itself was focused around this popular slogan, Live Better Electrically, which had actually been utilized kind of loosely since the 1950s. In fact, it had been introduced to the public in 1926 via this cartoon, which some of you might recognize, by this little guy named Reddy Kilowatt. That's his name. It was designed by actually Alabama Power Company commercial manager Austin Collins, and he was granted the right to this character after he left the company. In 1934, he took the design to the Edison Electrical Institute, who loved the character and they loved the slogan, and they thought, hey, this is a great thing to use as sort of a nationwide program shortly thereafter. The character that we know today, this Reddy Kilowatt character, he was updated by none other than a Walt Disney animator in 1946, Walter Lantz. So you might see them. Walter Lantz, if you don't know, he's the same guy that drew the Woody Woodpecker and Andy Panda. He's that illustrator. While the character was certainly widely popular itself, by the mid-1950s, he began taking a new role as sort of this ambassador to this newly launched Medallion Home Program. It was supported by 900 electric utilities companies and 880 electrically manufacturers, including GE and Westinghouse. They began to push this idea of this Medallion Home campaign at the National Electrical Manufacturers Association Conference in 1956. The objective of the program was pretty simple. It was to encourage the development and the sale of newly constructed homes that would offer a complete house for electricity, not only that for the heat, for the power, but for the lighting as well. Um, in the beginning, the program was based on a tier system that you kind of see here, which focused on three different areas of the house. Each had its own separate logo. So there was the Live Better Electrically, which focused on appliances. You had to have a maximum, or excuse me, a minimum number of 6 appliances had to be installed in a house. This included an electric range, built-in ovens or surface units. Other appliances could be an electric refrigerator, a freezer. There could be a electric water heater, a dishwasher, electric disposal, things like that, clothes dryer, you name it. Then they also focused on house power, which set the standard for electrical service. Um, all homes at the time were mandated to have at least 100 amps of service to handle smooth use of all these electronic devices. Most homes at the time only had a 60 ampere service. So this was a bump up in amperage. Today, if you don't know today, you get your service to your house is about 200 amps. Um, they also had a minimum of 20 circuits in the house for safety, and they specified a specific number of outlets and switches per linear foot of the house as well at the same time. Then there was this light for living piece, which set a high standard for lighting in the house, both for interior and exterior lighting, that was recommended by the American Home Lighting Institute. Many of those lights were built-in features of the house. They had things like vanity lights, and soffit lights, and drapery lights, all kinds of crazy sorts of things. If you got all three of those, then you would become a medallion home and you got a bronze plaque. If you went a step and beyond and you did an electrical heating system, then you could receive the highest level of Live Better Electrically Standard, and that was the gold medallion that you could get. Um, all homes that met this Live Better Electrically standards could be marketed with this 3-inch plaque that was emblazed with the Live Better Electrically logo. The brass plaque was typically found near the front door. It was affixed to maybe the wall or a standalone unit. Some were even embedded in concrete, like you see here outside, that would lead up to the house, maybe the front door or the patio area. Some companies offered a little less uh, uh, smaller marker, I guess, if you will, doorbells that had the logo on them, or knockers. Of course, they were lit, kind of a fun little detail, just various varieties that you see here. You could even get a lighted house number marker with the total electric Live Better Electrically award. For those that didn't want it to be so flashy, maybe you could do a temporary marker on the outside of the house. These were 6-inch decals that were typically affixed to like a window or something like that. Um, the builders themselves were awarded certificates for authenticity that their house, their project met this Live Better Electrically program. Now, the title of the campaign changed over the years slightly, but the Live Better Electrically logo kind of remained constant. You'll see various different iterations through these slides as we sort of look at them. Um, Now, for the executives of Westinghouse and General Electric, the goal of the Live Better Electrically program was to give national support and kind of this cohesion to a variety of existing programs that were sponsored by the local utilities at the local level, right? So the national support came through a variety of magazine and newspaper ads, radio jingles that you heard. There were TV shorts. I want to show you one of those because it's kind of a fun thing to watch. These were all venues that generated that generally could not be funded by local utility companies because it was just too expensive, right, at the time. And so for General Electric, they decided to utilize this newly cast General Electric Theater. on CBS at the time, and it was billed as a replacement for the Bing Crosby show. And the show was sort of this anthology of series of episodes that were adaptations of novels, short stories, short plays. In between the scenes, they would show their host, Ronald Reagan, would take audience on a tours of General Electric facilities, manufacturing plants, all while touting the benefits of living better with electricity. Reagan even gave a tour of his own home at the time, and he brought in guest speakers like television and radio and comedian personalities, singers, Fran Allison. She was the sponsor for Whirlpool. She was a singer at the time. Actress and consumer advocate Benny Furness for Westinghouse. Kind of a crazy sort of thing to think about all these things. I want to show you the Westinghouse short that they did, and I think you'll find it kind of comical to sort of see. So I'm going to stop sharing and open up another window here to run it. I'm not going to run the whole thing, but might be interesting to see.
Hello, I'm Betty Furness. In all my years with Westinghouse, I've covered some pretty interesting stories. It's truly the most wonderful and exciting thing I've ever had the chance to talk about. It's the Westinghouse Total Electric Home. A home where electricity does everything. Heats, cools, illuminates, launders, preserves and prepares foods, entertains. It even lights a path to the front door with rayescent strip lighting. As visitors approach, more lights go on automatically to say a cheery welcome. Then, when they arrive at the door, a television camera takes their picture to tell the hostess her guests have arrived. When you step inside the Total Electric Home, you step into an entirely new concept in living, organized around electric centers, such as this entertainment center. Electric heating and cooling keep the home constantly and automatically at the most livable temperatures all year round, and keep it clean and healthful too. Sterile lamps kill airborne bacteria, while electrostatic filters remove pollen and dust. The pride and joy of the man of the house is the Weather Control Center, a center that puts you in charge of the electric heating and air conditioning and the electronic air filtering of the entire house. If you like, the temperature of each room in the Total Electric Home can be set individually. And for the amateur weatherman, the control center reports outside wind velocity and direction, outside temperature and humidity, and barometric pressure. In the winter, the press of a button de-ices the front walk and driveway. In summer, an automatic control starts the lawn sprinklers when the ground gets thirsty. Another beautiful and practical electrical center in the Total Electric Home is the Laundry and Home Planning Center. With individual hampers, your clothes are sorted by type. Directly opposite, to save you steps, are the real geniuses of this very last word in home laundries. All you do is load the clothes in this new Westinghouse 1000 laundromat and electric clothes dryer. The remarkable program computer selects and carries out the perfect washing and drying program for every fabric at the touch of a button. It's the first home laundry that can think. Over here is the combination open fireplace and electric barbecue. By touching an electric starter, the host can get the charcoal going and demonstrate his cooking skill. And whenever the family just wants to enjoy a cozy fire, all he has to do is throw on the logs and push a button to automatically lower a protective screen. Cooking is really a joy in the food preparation center. Here you have a refrigerator that looks like fine furniture. For convenience, the upper unit of the refrigerator opens from both sides, and below are handy, spacious refrigerator and freezer drawers. Then, too, there's the miraculous electronic oven that will cook these appetizers in 6 seconds. Appetizers that were prepared from recipes kept in this microfilm file. Thousands of recipes are on file here, and simply by pressing a couple of buttons, the recipe of your choice appears on the screen.
I think you get an idea of kind of what the genre is of the era and how different or what they were envisioning the future, if you will. Um, Let me go back to my slides now and can talk about the rest of the show here. Kind of a fun thing to watch for sure. At the local level, the Live Better Electrically program um, debuted really about 1957, started to take off in 1958. First was a series of 12 different houses that were planned to be built across the United States, sort of as demonstration houses. This group promoted modern living, and among this group is this house down in um, Boise, which actually holds the distinction of being the very first medallion home that was built in the United States. Here it is. Um, the Medallion Home Program quickly sort of embraced with open arms amongst the various builders and companies across the United States. Most people were introduced to the program through local home shows. Many of these, in the early years, they created these full mock-ups, if you will, of homes inside exhibition halls. There's just a couple there in one in Seattle and one in California, just showing those things at the model show. Or the other introduction that you often saw was a full sort of parade of homes, if you will, across the country. Hundreds of developers and builders sort of jumped on this idea, this LBE bandwagon, if you will. And the Medallion Home badge was a sort of a prominent feature for numerous years at these parade of homes over the time. In fact, entire neighborhoods were planned around this idea that they were a live better electrically uh, development unit. This is one up in Seattle, one up in Texas. They're just all over the place. The program was really a massive effort. And while it started out relatively slow, the marketing aspect of the program quickly ramped up. In fact, the initial launch came with an offer to send a free 70-page brochure to homeowners, which would tell them about how their lives could be enriched by the use of electricity and how to purchase electric appliances. Various pamphlets, various books were sort of thrown out there to sell this idea of total electric living. We have to remember at the time that in the cooking world, electricity was a fairly new thing. So as such, a lot of these, they were producing these homeowner books that taught you how to cook electronically, to know what the numbers were. Some power companies even went the next step and they created these electrical centers, electrical living centers in their local PUD offices, which would teach homeowners about how to use these newfangled electric appliances. This is one down in Vancouver, the Electric Center, which is now the PUD office down in Clark County. To push the program over the top in 1959, GE hired the Institute for Motivational Research. They came up with a marketing strategy. This would become really a masterclass in product placement development and, of course, free giveaways to infiltrate the psyche of the American home buyer. The LBE logo, the Live Better Electrically logo, was emblazed on just about every product that you could think of. It was emblazed on lighters, which, smoking at the time was popular, right? If you had a lighter, you had to have maybe matches, you had to have an ashtray. Um, You had to have cufflinks and lapel pins and jackets and document holders and luggage tags, um, key fobs, keys to the house, you name it. These logos are found everywhere. These are just some of the images of things that I have captured over the years as I've been researching this program. Um, it's easy to forget sort of architecturally about this total living electrically sort of concept. And that in and of itself really has helped sort of lift the design restrictions of space inside of houses. Because it gave an ease on the requirements of installation, right? And the placement of appliances. So once was described as sort of a custom house, now really could become sort of the standard. These bulky sort of heating systems could be moved, heating, cooling, cooking became simple matters of wiring without the additional problems of, designing a flue, designing a vent, pipe for gas, things like that. You can kind of move things around, if you will, inside a house. There were no restrictions on where appliances could be placed, right? So electrical living opened up the floor space. It gave us home offices. It gave us hobbies and workshops. It gave us family rooms. It gave us recreational centers. All these kinds of things that we take for granted now, all sort of happened by this push for electricity. The electrical living campaign positioned natural gas, which was the biggest source of power at the time, as outmoded method to operate appliances like furnaces, cooking, water heaters. That was old style thinking. Living in a medallion home was marketed as the apex of modern living. Electricity could provide everything that a homeowner would need, making life easier, more comfortable, more healthy, and of course, safer. Uh, Westinghouse even noted that the total electric concept provided heating, cooling, electric cooking in a matter of seconds. Illumination, entertainment, the preparation and preservation of food, the elimination of pollen, the elimination of airborne germs. It would even de-ice the driveway, control the lawn sprinklers, some of the things that we saw in that video. To heighten the modernistic feel of electricity, many of these homes featured also sort of some unusual amenities, like they had electric curtain rods that could be opened and closed by a touch of a button. They had baseboard heating, of course, and there were some unusual things like task lighting, which could be installed under a woman's dressing table for, giving pedicures. Um, Fun stuff. So by the 1970s, by all accounts, the tide toward electricity had started to turn. Utility companies and the federal government had started banding together in an effort to get customers to really curtail their use of electricity. In fact, to reach customers, the federal administration created their own logo, the Federal Energy Administration. This guy is called the Energy Ant. But that is another story for another time. So it's kind of fun to know. By all accounts, the Live Better Electrically Medallion Home Program was a huge success. Some estimates note that there was a nationwide goal of about 1 million all-electric homes was achieved. Although specific data and the numbers is unknown, I haven't been able to figure out what that is. The program was still marketed through the mid 1970s and remained a selling point for real estate agents for at least another 10 plus years after that. In Seattle, for example, I found an advertisement for some dwellings that were being advertised as medallion homes as late as 1983. One of the ways that I tried to sort of figure out what the impact was to just do a key search in local newspapers. So this is kind of an insight onto how Michael does research. Using the term medallion homes, between 1957 and 1985, there were 168,875 hits in the newspaper. The peak, as you can see here, was around 1967. The map, I think, really shows the sort of popularity of the Medallion Home Program, at least in terms of the hits that you might find in the newspaper. So this is newspaper coverage, the darker blue being more newspaper coverage than others. But the program reached all 50 states, all across the U.S. The trademark for the Medallion Home Program was canceled actually in 1973, but I think it's pretty safe to assume that the GE and Westinghouse forever really changed the lives of Americans with their Live Better Electrically program. Uh, and so next time you plug in your appliances, think about how this program changed the lives of all Americans. Thank you. I think we were going to open it up for perhaps questions. Maddie?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Maddie or Kim, is there questions that popped up in the chat?
Don't see anything in the chat.
Okay.
If anybody has questions, you can unmute yourself and ask.